First story. My wife cheated. The thoughts are more overwhelming than ever. I have struggled with suicidal thoughts for much of my adult life, and they became more frequent and intense since a serious car accident a couple years ago that really screwed my life up. I have managed to keep the thoughts at bay, but the methods I've used to do so are no longer working. Something unprecedented happened to me this week, and I feel closer than I ever have to actually doing it. My partner of 3 years got a tattoo last week, and the tattoo artist messaged them later and they ended up cheating on me with him. I caught them while on their date. We live very close to each other, but that didn't stop them. We have had very stable and loving relationship until this point, and there were no signs of this happening. They couldn't even give me a reason. They are still talking to him a week later, even though this guy doesn't even live in the same city. All of our mutual friends, and my parents, think they are having a manic episode as they've speculated on having BPD in the past. No diagnosis. I know it's not easy to believe in this forum with no knowledge of our relationship, but I cannot emphasize enough how completely fine everything was between us. That is what is driving me insane right now. It seems as though nothing I do is ever good enough. I am ignored and discarded by everyone eventually, not just in romantic relationships but by friends and employers and the systems that only exist to drain me of money and energy. I'm sick of telling myself that this is just life. If life is nothing but cycles of extreme suffering, healing, and then more suffering to undo the healing, I'm done with it. I haven't been eating and I have very little regard for my well-being. I feel like I'm just plucking up the courage to finally end my life. If my best friend and favorite person in the world can inflict so much pain on me for such an insignificant reason, then I must truly be worthless, and there will never be anyone who treats me the way I wish I could be treated. I don't see any point in fighting the inevitable any longer. Update. How do I reach out to friends? I'm going through a very difficult time right now and the thoughts of suicide that I've been fighting for years are becoming overwhelming. I want to reach out to my friends for help and so they understand how drastic my situation is. But I'm scared that doing so will just make it look like I'm looking for attention or something. What makes it complicated right now is that the urge is so present because my long-term partner cheated on me out of nowhere, even while our relationship was stable. I am confident that I was good to them, but they told me they acted on impulse, and they are sticking to their decision to be with the other guy. Many of my friends are mutual friends with my ex-partner, and while they are aware of the situation and have told me that my ex was in the wrong, abused me, and was in no way justified, they still won't stand up for me to my ex. I feel like they don't understand how badly I have been hurt and how much I am suffering. Some of those friends have taken the time to talk and hang out and help me, and I feel guilty demanding more from them. But I feel so alone and so consumed by thoughts of suicide that I need them to understand. I just don't want them to feel, IDK, like I'm a needy child or something. This is a serious crisis for me, and I guess it feels like no one in my life truly understands that. How do I tell them? Update. Got cheated on a month ago. Nothing has gotten any easier. I was debating between the advice and venting flare, but struggling seems the most appropriate. I was with my ex-partner for 3.5 years, and it wasn't without its problems, but it was certainly the strongest and most trusting relationship I've ever had once we became monogamous. I've never felt so authentically myself around a partner, and so certain that a partner only wanted me and I only wanted them. And both of those feelings have made the pain so much worse lately. They cheated on me seemingly out of nowhere. I had only noticed anything was wrong within a week of catching them on a date with someone else. I thought things were going really good and they had said so themselves that same week. But I was picking up that they were suddenly acting very annoyed and short-tempered with me and distracted. I tried to talk to them about it, but I didn't really know what to say or ask. They were always terrible about being open about their feelings, and I often felt like I must just be making things up in my head. They got a tattoo from some guy and they were there past midnight. Apparently nothing happened, but who knows. The tattoo guy later messaged my partner and made a move on them, which they accepted. They told me it was an impulsive decision but had obviously been planning it for days. We normally hung out on the weekends, but they told me they were sick. I asked if there was anything I could do and they said no. We live 5 blocks away from each other, still, which is torture. So later in the day I decided to surprise them with soup and check in on them. As I'm walking to their apartment, I see them drive by with a guy in the passenger seat. I remember feeling like I was hallucinating, floating, and just the most horrible sinking feeling I've ever felt. I call them on the phone and tell them what I just saw and that I need to talk to them in person. I meet them down the street from where they parked, and they can barely look me in the eye or say anything. All they said is they had a crush on the guy and that they weren't thinking. I remained calm, because I knew if I got angry or violent with the guy it would just make everything worse. I asked what happens now and they said they would take him back to where he was staying, doesn't even live in the same city. I tell them we are done and that I thought they were better than this. As I walk away I see them go into their apartment together, and he has his arm around them. A couple days and a de-escalated suicide attempt later, they come over to talk. I make them coffee and give them a cookie. I am in denial, at this point, of who they proved themselves to be, and want to try to view it all as a mistake on their part. But they don't see it that way. They tell me they don't want to stop talking to this guy, that he was more confident and affirming than me, that I was impossible to read. They acted so deflective and cold, and it scared me because this used to be my best friend. So many times in our relationship I asked them if everything was okay. I made an active effort to be affirming and nurturing and down for anything they wanted to do, but I just feel stupid now. No one wants to get involved at this point. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to put the energy into really understanding my side. I had a friend tell me they forgave my ex because they took accountability. IDK what that means because they are still seeing the guy they cheated on me with and they have never apologized, which doesn't sound like accountability. And I feel like I'm the one they should be held accountable by, as I was the one who is hurt. I just feel so lonely and like nothing is real. I mentioned a suicide attempt and I've been fighting off the thoughts to try again. I've gone on dates but it feels a little too vulnerable for me right now. I don't want to be hurt again or inadvertently hurt someone else. I don't trust anyone. I feel like everyone's mad at me or conspiring against me. I know my ex is telling people things about me but have no idea what. IDK how anyone can be friends with them after what they've done. And at the heart of it all I feel like this is all somehow my fault. Like I'm a moron for not seeing this coming, like it's ultimately what I deserve. I tried my best to be a good partner and I feel shamed that my best led to this outcome. It makes me feel hopeless. I know this was abuse and this is what abuse does. I have been abused in a similar way before, and my ex knew intimate details about that abuse and still decided to do what they did. What value do I really have as a human being if people are willing to discard me like this without showing any remorse? What hope do I have to offer anything to anyone at this point? Update. People aren't taking my pain seriously. I'm 25 and was in a relationship for almost 4 years. Been a bit over a month since I got cheated on. Friends who I reached out to for support are now posting pictures hanging out with my ex. I try to vent about how difficult this has been and I get responses like "you'll get over it" and "guess you dodged a bullet." I didn't dodge a bullet, I got hit square in the chest by one. It feels like everyone just decided that it's fine that I was betrayed and emotionally abused. I feel incredibly insignificant and like I've just been discarded. Not just by my ex who left me for someone else but by the people I thought I could trust to care that happened to me. I feel disappointed and lonely. It's so frustrating to constantly feel like everyone feels like you're doing something wrong, or just unlovable, but you don't know what it is or why that would be. Update. Self-defeating mindset in the aftermath of a betrayal. It's been about 1.5 months since I, 25M, caught my partner, 24F, of nearly 4 years while they were on a date with someone else. I posted a detailed account of it all on a different sub, and you can find that post on my profile if you're curious. I don't have the emotional energy to recount it all right now. I have been cheated on in 3 separate long-term relationships. This most recent time hurt the worst because I never thought this person would be capable of doing something so cruel and selfish. I had recovered from my relationship anxieties caused by past experiences with infidelity, and I trusted her entirely. She knew what happened to me and was angry and sad for me. And then she went and did the same thing. In a former abusive relationship, my abuser once told me, after I confronted her about cheating, that I encouraged her to do it. That something about my personality or my attachment style or something had convinced her to cheat on me with her ex. Obviously I know that's bullshit. Cheating is never justified. But it's hard to not feel like there's some semblance of that must be real, when I've been cheated on so much. And especially by this most recent partner who never even expressed interest in anyone else. I can't shake the feeling that it's my fault, or that I should have done something to prevent it. This recent relationship started as a consensual FWB situation, because I had just been cheated on a few months before and couldn't trust to be monogamous. As time went on, that became complicated as feelings got more serious, and I didn't want to hurt anyone but was scared of monogamy. A couple years in and me and my partner got into a very serious car accident. And that experience made it very clear to me that I wanted something real and committed with her, because we nearly died together. We became monogamous and things were really stable between us for a long time. We never fought and only bickered about minor things and always laughed it off. Never got short or annoyed with each other. We were, I thought, very open and honest about our feelings and thoughts. It was devastating when she cheated on me. She knew about the abuse in the past I had experienced and she still did it. I still don't have any answers as to why. She blamed meds she was taking, and she told me she hadn't been feeling confident lately. I was scared of monogamy for this exact reason and I ended up trusting her. And I got exactly what I was worried about from it. Why does this keep happening to me? I don't understand where I go wrong. I am a loving and attentive person in committed relationships, and I feel like it usually leads to the same place. I know I shouldn't blame myself for being cheated on, but it's so hard not to when it feels like a trend. I really need some consolation right now. Update. I've been way too nice to my WP. Now I'm starting to regret it. Nearly 2 months since D-Day. Life sucks. Can't leave the apartment without a pep talk. Social media is just a tunnel of anxiety, the works. I've only really spoken to my WP since because she owes me a bit of money. She has been paying it back. We weren't married and it's not enough money to even make small claims court worth the trouble. But I've been realizing that every interaction, even when I had the opportunity to vent a bit about how fucked up what she did was, I was way nicer than she deserved. And I feel a tinge of frustration and shame in my inability to just stand up for myself and really let her have it. I know that there's strength in being kind in the face of abuse and betrayal. I've been telling myself that and have been told that by others as well. I'm not giving her any evidence to make it look like I was a partner that got angry or said hurtful things. I wasn't, and even now I'm just not like that. The thing is, this is not the first relationship I've been abused and or cheated on in. And years down the line from those other bad partners, I still wish I could tell them exactly how small and pathetic they are. The shock of discovery has always been too overpowering to be in touch with the anger I should be feeling. I'm sure many here understand that. Fighting to not break and see. The timeline I gave her to pay me back was extremely generous as she said she was struggling financially. Now I'm thinking that I just want her gone ASAP. It's not my fault she spent too much money on the tattoo artist she started fucking. I'm tempted to ask for faster payment. tempted to tell her she's a narcissist and an abuser and has the emotional intelligence of a spoiled child. I said to her face after D-Day that I didn't think she was a bad person. But of course she is. And of course I think that. Why did I say that? Update. Living on the same street as my WP. Tomorrow marks 2 months since D-Day. Caught my ex, 24F, driving home from a date with her AP in the car. I, 25M, was walking to her apartment because she lied to me about being sick so she could hang out with this guy. And I was coming to bring her a care package as I hadn't heard from her all day. The moment I saw her with someone, I called her and asked what was going on, and she just kept lying. I met her on the street and she finally confessed that she was cheating. I broke up with her on the spot, and as I was walking away I saw her go into her apartment with the AP, after she told me she'd drive him back to where he was staying. We were together for nearly 4 years, not married, had plans, no kids. Since then it's been really hard to leave my apartment. We live 5 blocks away from each other. I have to pass her building to get to the grocery store. I've seen her drive by as I'm walking a handful of times, and once we ran into each other while we were both walking. She waved at me and I just glared and looked away. I am worried that one of these days I'll see her walking with the AP. They are still together as far as I can tell. Though I have blocked her on all social media and deleted my Twitter X account, so I'm not tempted to look at all. I don't know what would happen, probably nothing, but I'm more worried that it would just set me back in my healing process to see them together. I've decided to completely ignore her if I see her again, though that feels dishonest to how I feel as I am still mourning the relationship, and I miss her, who she was at some point at least, very badly. It's just very painful having to exist in a place that has so much memory and very real proximity to something that I feel deeply traumatized by. Has anyone had a similar situation? How were able to navigate it? I'm not financially able to move right now, plus I like my apartment. I'm just exhausted from being bummed out and paranoid every time I walk down the street. Update. It will never make sense, and I'm struggling to accept that. It's been 2 months and some change since D-Day, and as time passes, the decision my ex made makes less and less sense to me. I see so many stories on here about cheaters coming back to apologize, trying to relieve their guilt, and I never got anything like that. My WP and I were in love for so long, things were seemingly fine. And then she just met some tattoo artist, got caught by me while she was on a date with him, and then she just left me for him. No explanation beyond projecting her insecurities onto me. No apology beyond blaming her medication for making her act irrational. What the fuck do I do with that? I've been cheated on in other relationships, but there were always red flags. This was different. We had normal relationship complications here and there, but nothing to indicate she would ever just up and leave for someone else. How could I be with someone for years and not realize that they were so shallow? How do you ever trust again after something like that? I find myself grieving our relationship a lot now that the shock has sort of worn off. I'm beyond angry and devastated, and I don't want her back. She doesn't exist as I knew her anymore, and I know that. I just wish I could take a point in our relationship and freeze it. An image of her and the AP cuddling together in a forest keeps popping on my head, and it makes me feel sick to my stomach. And I know I shouldn't trouble myself like that, but it's involuntary. It feels impossible to make sense of the last couple months of my life. And it feels like my brain is just spiraling trying to understand, not just what happened but how they're still together. And what the hell I'm supposed to do with myself right now. Everything feels like it's moving in slow motion, and even then I'm struggling to keep up. Sometimes I just want to rot. I hate that she did this. Update. The urge to hold bad friends accountable. I had a friend that was the very first person I confided in immediately after discovery. They had shown Karen's support in the past regarding an abusive situation I was in, though now I realize that was only because there was a personal stake involved. They were mutual friends with me and my WP, but I knew them first, and I also just figured they could see the obvious wrongdoing of my ex cheating on me and being caught in the act. They were very angry for me. Let me stay at their apartment and vent. Talked shit about my ex, even tried to help me meet someone else. I wasn't ready. I was very grateful for them and told them everything on my mind. Then, something shifted. They reached out to my WP to ask what happened and scold them. My friend never told me what they said, and said it didn't justify anything. But my WP apparently gave them some context about our relationship. Context that I am unaware of the nature of, and even though they said it didn't justify anything, I can't imagine my WP saying anything about our relationship without trying to frame it like she is the victim of some horrible mistreatment or neglect on my part. I am confident that I was a good partner. This was the first red flag. This information remained kept from me, and I didn't like that my friend was even humoring listening to an abuser anyway. One day I felt very upset because it seemed like everyone was just ignoring that this happened. I had made the mistake of checking my WP's Twitter, and she had taken with the AP, and it really burned me up that she was acting so nonchalant just weeks after the fact. As if she just swapped out car parts rather than romantic partners. I vented about this to my friend, about how fucked up it was she was still hanging with the AP and how she's acting like nothing happened. My friend had told me prior that their friendship with my WP depended on their accountability in the situation. At the time of writing this post, I have yet to see any form of genuine accountability from my WP. I don't expect to. My friend came back saying that they didn't see continuing the relationship with AP constituted a lack of accountability, and how they felt my WP had shown accountability somehow. Still not sure WTF they were referring to. I was upset by them saying this, but at this point I was willing to accept that there might be more to the situation I didn't understand. Fuck that. A couple weeks later I see my friend post pictures hanging out with my WP. The last conversation I had with them had already left a bad taste in my mouth. So when I saw the pictures I decided enough was enough and I soft blocked them. They noticed a couple days later and had the audacity to confront me about it. Like I'm the asshole for knowing I deserve a better friend than someone who's gonna both side abuse and ultimately side with whoever they get the most clout from. I told them why I unfollowed. I sent them a very low-fully worded message about how I think they have proven to be a bad friend. They responded with a vague apology about their mental illness, and how they should have kept things to themselves, and how they thought they could be friends with both me and my WP. After this I noticed they started following the AP on Instagram. I sent them a message acknowledging this and essentially asking why they're even pretending to be a friend when they clearly made their decision about who they want to be friends with. They never responded. I have this overwhelming urge to tell them that they are so typical, that they should never pretend to care about abuse again, that they're someone who only acts when it's convenient. I want to call them out for being fake and shallow and superficial. They're the type to act like they care about abuse in our local scene community. So it really irritates me that they dismiss abuse when it's their friend who is an abuser. I just want them to fucking humble themselves and reflect a bit on why they think it's cool to forgive cheaters on the behalf of those cheated on. But is there any point to doing that? I'm NC with my WP, 2.5 months out from D-Day. Trying to fucking move on and just really struggling to feel like I've resolved some aspect of the situation. I just want to hear people's thoughts on this. I try to compost here before acting on my feelings too much. Update. Went on a walk today and had to cross the street right in front of X and AP's car. Feeling really fucking weird tonight. Today was a really anxiety-ridden day, and in the evening I decided a walk would make me feel better. Of course, what should happen while I'm walking but my ex and their ugly AP pull right up to the crosswalk as I'm about to cross. It's been over 3 months since D-Day, and things have only recently started feeling a little lighter on me. I've spent a lot of time in this group and with self-help books trying to get over the hill. I know that I deserved better than what I got from my ex, and that I truly didn't lose anything by leaving a cheater. They finished paying me back money they owed me, and after that I finally blocked them entirely. It's been healing to feel as if they simply don't exist anymore, and that I can sorta compartmentalize that experience as I have with other traumatic experiences. It was very jarring then, to be face to face with them in the AP, and be reminded that they live a mere 5 blocks away from me. That we dated for 4 years only for them to treat me like a piece of garbage and discard me and act like nothing ever happened. Tonight I'm scared of relapsing and losing progress on all the healing I've done. I can feel a lot of painful feelings that I put away surging back. There's nothing I can do really. I'm completely NC. After the shock of seeing them wore off, I acted as if I didn't know them. I can't do much but sit and try to get back to the headspace I was in. I'm very frustrated that I was reminded that they still exist, and I'm very frustrated that the AP is regularly in my neighborhood, and that I have to risk seeing them when I go outside. I don't know what I want to hear right now. I just needed to post something. Maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal and maybe it's not, but the way I'm feeling fucking sucks right now, and I just want to continue an upward trajectory. Update. Experiencing heartbreak after surviving infidelity is confusing. 25M. It's been several months since D-Day, and I feel that there's been a massive shift in my mental state in this time. Like I'm a completely different person since it happened. I've spent most of that time trying to learn to be independent and single. Considering my relationship with the ex who cheated was several years long and honestly pretty codependent. Sometimes though, you meet someone who just feels right, who immediately makes sense to you. I met someone like that last month. It was a type of chemistry and emotional honesty I hadn't ever really experienced, and I was very excited at the prospect of a relationship. I tried to do everything in the healthiest way. I was completely open about my situation with my ex, how I was completely over them romantically but still healing from the abuse. I tried to move slowly and intentionally so I had time to gauge and process my feelings every step of the way. Things felt so good for a minute. Then, I was taking a walk and I ran into my ex and the AP, ex lives in my neighborhood. I ignored them, but it really upset me seeing them, primarily because I have just been trying to live my life, and it's been easier to pretend they just don't exist. Foolishly, I told the new person I was seeing that this happened and how I was feeling about it. I was a bit self-righteous in my venting, saying something along the lines of, at least, I don't have to live the rest of my life with the guilt of being a cheater. I think the fact that I was so opinionated about my ex still was a red flag to them. Maybe they're right and it is too early to have feelings for someone else. They said they wanted to just be friends for now because it didn't seem like I was ready for a relationship. I just felt so strongly that I wasn't seeing them to distract myself or to prove anything. I truly liked them so much and felt like it was the start of something really good. But I respected their boundaries and we've taken a little break from talking. I still want something with them, but I'm prioritizing moving past the anger and resentment I feel towards my ex still. I know the anger never quite goes away entirely, but I'd like to feel more indifferent towards them. The time away from talking to them has been really tough. It feels like I'm experiencing heartbreak all over again. I'm not mad at them like I was at my ex, obviously. But I'm repeating a lot of the same depression routines that I just went through a few months ago. It's frustrating to me as well, that what I experienced has echoed into my attempt at trying again at a relationship with someone else. It feels inescapable sometimes, like getting cheated on marked me somehow. It's hard not to feel like there's just something wrong with me. I just wanted to vent a bit because I've been pretty broken up and this sub has been a positive space for me. I know that trying to start something new might have been a mistake, and I don't need to hear it again. I'm not looking to see anyone else right now, and maybe I'm holding out hope for this person, but primarily working on myself. Seeing two therapists, lol.